¿Qué onda? Thanks for watching Doing Life with Jenny. It's travel season and I want to give you some tips about traveling, specifically about traveling internationally. These are things that many people overlook and that can prohibit you actually taking your trip. I'll link a video about traveling safely in the description box, and I'll also leave links about information provided in this video for you. This first tip only applies for US citizens. I'm not sure if other countries have something similar. But don't forget to register your trip with step.gov. Basically, this lets the US know that a US citizen will be abroad, where in the country, and for how long. Why this is important is for several reasons. If there was some kind of natural disaster like an earthquake or a hurricane, or a war breaks out, or another pandemic happens. So this lets our country know that you're there in the affected area, and they can track you down to make sure you're safe, and if there's some kind of emergency where you need to get out, they can help you get back home. The next thing you need to know is that all electrical systems are not created equally. I got my converter pack, I believe at Target. You can find it easily on Amazon, but there might be two things that you need. You might need something that converts the actual electricity so that you don't blow a fuse, or so that you don't blow up whatever it is you're trying to plug in. It will make sure the right amount of electricity is coming in and exiting the device. The other thing you might need is like a plug adapter, because the shape of the outlet might be different. For example, this one has two round plugs. This one has one that looks like it's from the US, but it's actually angled. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's angled instead of two parallel pegs. There are other types as well. Those are just the two I grabbed quickly. The last thing you want to do is show up to find out you can't plug in your phone or your computer or your hair straightener. Next, do your research as to if you need a visa or not. This varies very greatly depending on what country you are from, or which country you hold citizenship in, I should say, and what country you're going to visit. For example, if you are a US citizen going to Mexico, you need but you don't need a visa. There's nothing special that you need to know. If you get on a plane, the cost of the tourist visa card is already included in your flight. If you drive to Mexico, you just need to stop at the border and buy it for about $30, but there's no like application process. They just hand it to you and they let you in, essentially. But for some countries, you need to apply ahead of time. There's usually a fee involved. You might need to send your passport off. Me, as a US citizen going to India, I had to mail my passport to either the Indian embassy or consulate, I don't recall. And they put the visa in my passport and mailed it back to me. And then how long the visa is good for, whether or not you can enter once on that visa or you can enter multiple times, it varies greatly. You have to do your research. The next thing you need to do is see if there's a special vaccine that is recommended for the place you're visiting. Every country has different diseases or parasites that they deal with. Each country has different vaccines that they automatically give to children, or at different stages throughout life. They probably will not line up. So you might be missing a few. Some common ones might be typhoid, hepatitis A, malaria, yellow fever. You just have to do your research. Also, you might need to show proof of a vaccine because of a place you've already visited, even though you're going to a different destination. For example, when I went to Argentina, I had to get a yellow fever vaccine. There are some countries that will require me to show proof of that vaccine upon entering their country, even though I don't live in Argentina. I'm not coming directly from Argentina. The next one might seem obvious, but it could be easily overlooked as well. Check out the weather. Don't forget that the world is divided into the northern and southern hemispheres. Here in the US, June, July, and August is summertime. However, in the southern hemisphere, June, July, and August are winter. Depending on the elevation, depending on how close or far away from the equator you are, the temperature will vary drastically. So I always do a Google search. I type in climate and then the name of the city and country I'm going to, and it will tell me the average temperatures all year round for that city. And then a couple days before actually traveling there, I look up like the weekly forecast so I get a better idea as to what to expect. Another thing you may not be aware of is that not all places have 4 true seasons like here in the Midwest in the US. Some countries have a wet and dry season. You don't want to book your trip if it's going to be raining nonstop all day, every day, which might not be the case if it's rainy season. For example, in Mexico's rainy season, it tends to rain hard for a couple of hours in the late afternoon, early evening. It's not like it's raining nonstop all day, every day. You just have to do your research, which is, I guess, the theme of this video. And the last tip is to check in with your bank and or credit cards. My credit union is great about fraud prevention. And if I were to show up to, like, let's say Germany and go to the ATM, my bank would not allow that transaction. You have to notify your bank and notify your credit cards that you are going to be traveling and where and specifically what dates. My credit union is like too good about this. I let them know last summer I was going to Ecuador. I said, don't block my debit card. I got to the ATM and guess what? My ATM card was blocked. So I had to spend a little bit of money and call home internationally to say, hey, I told you to unblock this. It's still me, but thank you for protecting me. And there will be certain countries that don't take any type of US card, so you have to know which countries those are. Also, going to an ATM, there is going to be a fee. 1, because it's not your bank. 2, an international fee. And 3, you'll lose a percentage of your money because they're converting the currency. Credit cards also have an international fee. Not all of them. You can find cards that waive that fee. If you get a debit card with Charles Schwab, they do waive the ATM fees for you. If you travel internationally frequently, I highly recommend getting a Charles Schwab account. And then something else related to keep in mind is that not all countries depend on credit cards and debit cards like the US. There are still many cash economies around the world, so don't expect to be going to the market to buy produce and use a credit card. Cash is king in most places, so make sure you take plenty of cash with you, or at least know 100% sure that your debit card is going to work once you get there. Those are all the tips I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and safe travels this summer.